Hey everyone, welcome to another workshop at SillyHacks. We have William over here. William is the developer advocate at Kintone. And you might be wondering what is Kintone, so William will cover all that. Let me give you a brief what he is going to cover. He is going to give you an introduction of Kintone, which is a web database. And he'll also give you a demo of how to create a DB, and he'll share some amazing examples with you all that you can definitely use in your hack. So over to you, William.
All right, thank you very much. Hi everyone, I'm Will. I'll try to keep this session short since everybody's into hacking, and I'll try to keep it around 30 minutes. And I'll introduce Kintone to you. So let me just share my screen and start off. I'm starting in the middle of somewhere. I'm not supposed to be starting. There we go. All right. Okay. So this is the Kintone database workshop. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat or the Q&A. I don't mind which one. And I'll be asking for some requests from you people in the chat as well during this workshop. So if you could listen in, that'd be great. All right, so Kintone Database Workshop, welcome everyone. I hope everyone's here because they have some sort of use case of using some sort of way to store the data that they can access later on. I just want to say that we are hosting a prize. So if you're using Kintone inside your hacks, you're eligible to win a prize of a 300 Amazon gift card for your team, and we'll also send some nice Kintone swag. Yay. All right. And hi, I'm Will, the Kintone developer advocate for Kintone, English, Japanese, and I do some JavaScript and C# Unity as well. And I'm joining in from Japan. It's 12:30 right now. All right. Let's get on with it. So the session overview, what we're basically going to do is we're going to introduce Kintone, and then how we're going to use Kintone, and then some hackathon use cases. So you can get an idea of how you can implement Kintone in your hacks. And then we'll end off with the benefits of hacking with Kintone, which I hope you'll get through the first three subjects. So what is Kintone? So Kintone is a cloud platform that creates web databases ridiculously quickly. And I just want to point that out, that it is really, really quick. Traditionally, to utilize databases, you usually need to set up the table schema through like the command line or through some unintuitive UI. And it really requires you to have a high level understanding of databases for you to be able to sort of create those tables and start putting data in. The other drawback was that you also need to run the database on a constantly running server or your computer. And most of all, to be honest, I find it quite boring actually creating databases. And so Kintone really solves this issue, makes you happy because you can create the databases intuitively with a drag and drop GUI. So what we're doing right now, we're creating a input form for a database. So what users will see when they start putting data in, and it will already create the table on the back end once you've done that. And since this is a web service, basically once you make this database, it's going to be deployed on the Kintone server. And then you can access that server from outside to get your data. So you don't need to have any servers running on your end, or servers running the database on your end. What are these databases typically used for? So we have developers using it. We also have customers using it. It is a customer-facing platform. So we have people who basically use spreadsheets within their businesses, but Kintone basically replaces the uses of those spreadsheets. So sharing data within teams is much more efficient. And the users can basically build out their own databases by setting out, defining their own structure depending on what business they do. So some companies do event scheduling, some companies have a lot of retails, so they like to manage everything in their database. There is an NPO that trains dogs, and so they have a dog database and they have a training database for the dogs as well. So those two databases talk to each other. And other common things are like interview management, or we have sort of niche markets where we have wedding planners using Kintone for wedding planning. So it really depends on who's using it. Every user is different. They have a different use case. So I hope you have an idea of sort of how it can be used. How you actually use Kintone. Well, firstly, you have to install nothing, which is really, really great because it is a cloud service. So all you have to do is basically you sign up through a sign up form, and we basically need like your name, email, and company. We won't need your credit card. And then you retrieve an email with directions on accessing your Kintone environment. So sign up through the form and we'll give you a domain basically and say, look, access this domain, log in, and you'll be able to use Kintone. Once you create a database inside Kintone, and then you put data inside the databases, you can access those data by either the web browser or via REST API. If you're familiar with modern day web services, things like Dropbox, Box, Google Drive, things along those lines, it's pretty simple. You log into the service and then you access the place where your data is. The same thing for Kintone. You can log in through the Kintone domain, and then you'll be able to create databases or add records. Records are like one line of table data. Add, view, edit, and also update the database structure as well, quite easily through the GUI. And I'll be demoing that later on. You can also access Kintone database data via REST API. If you're not that familiar with REST API, it's just a way to sort of request to a service that's outside your application for some data by giving it some authentication. So let's say you've made some databases inside Kintone and you've added some data in. You can make REST API calls from your app. And that REST API call, you'll define the domain that you want to access. You'll define which database ID that you want to access, and you'll set an API token, which will act as the authentication. And then once Kintone receives that request, they'll say, oh, you're trying to access this database. All right, I'll give you a response. And the response comes back in JSON format, which is very easy to read, and basically gives you back the data that you've asked for. So we'll go on to create a database. And I'm just going to end the slideshow and I'm going to share my desktop. While I'm getting ready, actually, if anybody here today is planning to use Kintone in any sort of way, could you post in the chat of any use cases of how you're planning to use it? Like you want to build a database of some people or some a list of things that you want. Just go ahead in the chat. You can post that while I get ready. Anybody? Okay, I think we have a shy audience today. Don't worry about that. Oh, list of all the participants. Oh, thank you. Okay, so that was from Harshil. Thank you very much. So basically, thank you very much. If anybody else has an idea of a database, that'd be great. I'm just going to make one right now, and I just want some ideas on what sort of database to make. So this is what the portal of Kintone looks like. And basically, you will click on apps. You click on the apps widget. You click on the plus button. Oh, someone's doing, and Melanie's doing a recipe book. All right, that sounds really good, actually. I'll go with that. You click on apps, create app, and it'll give you an option to create applications. And there are a list of applications that you can make, but what we're going to do is we're going to create one from scratch. And as soon as you click that, it's basically going to take you to a screen where you can start building your application. So I keep saying application, but databases in Kintone are called applications. So it's a Kintone app is an application. So we can name this recipe book. I'm just going to make sure I'm spelling it right. There we go. Recipe book, or I can call it recipe list, more like, I think. And I can click on the icon to change the icon. I can upload an icon that I have. I'm just going to use this icon. So what would a recipe book have? So I guess the name of the well, I'll just call it a menu. What sort of data would be inside a recipe book? I can have a drop down saying type. Is it Italian or is it Japanese? Is it Chinese? And I can add some on later on if I want. And I guess create a date of created date, or recipe created on. There we go. And I can add some more fields if you want. I'm not really sure what a recipe book would really contain. I could contain a table as well of all the things inside, but oh no, I need some instructions, don't I? There we go. And you can keep adding fields in. You can put them side to side if you want. You can change the size there. And if I add more types, I can add more types in there. I can add a checkbox in. You know, there's a place to add photos in if I want. And then once I've done, I can always update this form later. I can click on save. And the form will be saved. And I click on activate app. And my database will be made. This is a table view with no data inside. And so this is where I will start placing some data in. I'll manually place some data in right now, since I'm on the browser. And I just realized I need to put a number of menus in. I'm just going to make some up. Fried prawns, it's going to be Chinese, and I created it today. Fry some prawns. And that will be my data. And I can go back to my list and you'll see that that's created on my first record. And I'll create 2 more records inside. Something Italian, some great pasta. I don't know what that is. It's Italian, and it was created last week. Get some pasta, boil, add some salt. There we go. And I'll add another one in, so I have 3 sets of data. So I'll get some sushi, which is Japanese. Get some raw fish. Get some rice. Put them together. There we go. And again, I've add a photo in here right now if I want. I just realized I didn't really sort of clean my download folder, so I don't really want to go through that. So let me see. I'll click on here, recipe list again, and you'll see that I have the data here, and I can access the data by clicking on this blue icon, and I can see the details of it. If I want to edit it, click on the pencil icon. I can change anything inside here and click save. And I'm going to keep stuff as they are right now. So that's the first way to access Kintone is obviously through the GUI. And if you have a Kintone domain, your whole team can use a Kintone domain. You can create up to 5 users for this domain. So you can give each of your team members a login account. So they can all access this domain and they can all create the database with you. Normally, it's the administrator of this account or of this app of this database who'll be able to change the structure. And you can give the administrator account, you can share the administrator account with other users as well, so they can change the structure as well. But normally it's good to have one person changing the structure, and then you can have some other people, if some people have some free time, they can start placing some dummy data inside, which will really, really help you with getting data ready for your hackathons. So obviously through the GUI, you can get data. So the other way to get data from this application is via REST API. So to access this by REST API, we first need to get an API token from this application. So we're going to click on the cogwheel, go to App Settings, and then to API token. And then it's pretty obvious here, just click on Generate, and it'll generate an API token. And you'll be given some permissions for this API token. And in Kintone, you're able to make a number of databases. You can make like 10, 20, 30 databases if you want, as many as you want. This API token will only be able to access this database. And it will only have these permissions. In our case, we could give it a view records and add records permission. And that'll be enough to post some data in and get some data out as well. And make sure to copy that API token, and we can click on Save, Update App, and then we'll be back here. Just in case anytime you get lost, you can click on the home icon, and that'll take you to the portal, and your app will be listed here. So if you have 5 applications, you'll have 5 apps listed here, and you can click on it to go back to that list view. So let me just take note of the API token. Just taking it in my notes. Okay. Okay, and now we're going to continue. I'm going to use Postman, which is a it's a program that you can run on your computer to run REST API requests. You can go to the developer website. You can Google Kintone developer, and you'll go to the developer website where there's some API documentation on running REST APIs. And in our case, in our demo, we'll be doing a get records API. So record is one line of data. Get records is getting many of the data from an application. And it'll give you the endpoints that you need to use to run your REST API. In our case, we're going to be using this URL. I'm just going to paste that in to Postman. I need to change subdomains. So it's got curly braces and subdomains. Make sure you get rid of the curly braces and place in your subdomain. And if you look at the URL here, it says sillyhacksdemo.kintone.com. This SillyHacks demo part is the subdomain that is, it's unique to my domain, to my environment. So put sillyhacksdemo.kintone.com. And then if I go back to the docs, it says I need to place some parameters inside. So app is the app ID is a required parameter. So I'm going to put that in. In my case, app ID, if I look at the URL here, I've accessed the recipe list and it says K/2. And that is basically my application ID. And if you keep on making applications, this application ID will increment. It will increment for other applications that you make. So I'm going to put app ID 2. And also need to put authorization headers inside. In our case, we have an API token. And you can click here on API token to see how to put that API token inside. In our case, we're going to copy this Xaibozu API token. I'm going to copy that, put in the key, and then we're going to get the API key that we just copied and pasted in here. All right, and now we have enough data to send a request to Kintone. I hope this goes well. Live demos always go wrong somewhere. It's sending a request. Oh, right. Okay, I think that's got a nice response. So I've got a JSON response of the data that I've put in. So remember, I put sushi, and I placed Japanese, and I placed the date inside, and I placed the way to cook the recipe, basically. And in the next array, I have the second record, which was how to cook great pasta. And on the third array, I have how I'm going to cook fried prawns, basically. And you can add more parameters to this request. There are other optional things. So you can put a query in, which will be nice to put in. So if I put query, and if I already know what I'm going to get, let's look at the data. As I'm looking for ways to cook sushi, I can put what I need to do is I need to say, look, I'm looking at this field called menu, and I'm trying to look for data where it says sushi inside. And the first thing we have to do is be able to identify this menu inside our REST API code. So I'm going to go back to the settings, which is going to take me to the form settings. And I'm going to hover over my text field that says menu. And I'm going to click, hover over the cogwheel and click on settings. And all the way at the bottom, there's something called a field code, which is going to be the unique identifier. It's going to be a unique string that's going to identify this menu field. This is what was displayed to users. This is what needs to be defined on the back end so that computers know how to access it. So I'm going to call this a menu field. I'm going to save it. Save it. I'm going to save the forms. I'm also going to add in a new field if I want. I can always update the fields inside my recipe book. All right, now we're going to go back to Postman. I just want to make sure you can see my Postman stuff, right? If you can't, can you post that in the chat? Okay. Okay, thank you. And in Postman, we're going to put menu field, which is the identifier we had, and we're going to put in like, and we're going to put, I think this is case sensitive, so I'm going to put sushi. And then click on send again, and it's basically only going to pick up the sushi field. Oh, sorry, the sushi record, and nothing else. And you can make the query really long, a bit more complicated. You can look at the other parameters you can see inside. You can put a parametrical field so that not all of these data go in, only like just the name and how to cook it comes back. And so that's how you can access, that's how you'll be able to access Kintone data through REST API. I'm going to go back to my slides. Okay, so essentially, if Melanie wants to, she can use the API token that I generated to make a request to get data from her server if she wants to. But I would want her to make her own application. Oh, sorry. I assumed it was a her, but it's a her Kintone environment to create a database for themselves. And if you're not familiar with REST APIs and you're wondering how you'll be able to call REST APIs, you'll be able to call REST APIs from virtually most languages, whether you're using Python or Node.js, PHP, Ruby, there's always there's normally a library that does HTTP requests, and there'll be a lot of tutorials online. If you're using a particular language and you're not sure how to run REST APIs, call REST APIs, you can always reach out to me, and I can share you information on things I'm familiar with, and I can help you out on looking for stuff that I'm not familiar with. So I'll always be there to help you out. All right. Okay, so hackathon use cases. So every project needs a database, and I'm pretty sure about that. Whatever you make, there's going to be something on the back end that's going to be holding your data. And so developers often use Kintone to store new incoming data. For example, like IoT, store some sensor data inside Kintone, or they can use it for managing data that will be displayed on the Hackathon products UI. So two examples of this, there's a project called Hibotan, which is pretty cool. It's a mobile pot, a pot that walks to direct sunlight. And basically it has an embed that's, and basically it's, the embed takes in the temperature, the light, and humidity. So it has some sensors inside. And then it passes it onto Node.js. Node.js runs some REST APIs, and it posts the data onto Kintone. And every now and again, it accesses Kintone's data again to see like the average sort of temperature, light, and humidity. And then depending on the values stored in there, the Node.js code controls the motor inside the mobile pot. So the mobile pot finally moves on to a sunny area. Another project called Project Smart Inventory is a mobile point of sale system that was created on Flutter, and Flutter is used for creating mobile UIs. And basically what it was doing, it was using Kintone as a backend storage. And in that backend storage, there was inventory data that Flutter wanted to display to their users. So it'd be querying, users would be using the mobile application, and then when they click on a product, it'll be querying to Kintone to see how much of the product was in the stock, and then it'll be getting back the response, and then it'll be showing the list of items that it can show to the users. Okay, and if you're interested in using Kintone, I highly recommend you to screenshot this page. I'll give you some time to do that. So basically, you need two things to get your free Kintone developer environment. One is step one, sign up for a developer account by clicking on that link or accessing that link. We do want you to make sure to access this via Chrome if possible, and also accept cookies, please. You can always opt out of cookies later on. Since you need to accept the cookies to be able to fill out the sign up form. And basically what this will do, it will give you an account to access the second link. And the second link, oh, thank you very much. Hashel's posted posted the links there. I'm gonna give you access to the second link. Oh, I just realized you won't be able to see my screen, but I'll give you access to a second link, which is a sign up form. It's an application form for getting your free Kintone developer environment. And you won't need any credit cards. Just fill out your info and you'll get your email within about 5 minutes. And basically you can use this environment for a year. So you can use it in your other hackathons as well, not just this one. And as long as you are constantly using it as developers, we will extend it for another year once your first year is up. All right, I'm going to end off with benefits of hacking with Kintone. So I think there are 3 great reasons to use Kintone. One is it's ridiculously fast to build databases. You just saw how I just made a recipe database that I just got an idea from one of the participants today, and I didn't need to run any servers to run that database. Second thing is really, really easy to manage everything with the GUI. I didn't need to code anything to do that. And then you can use more of your coding time on using the REST APIs. Third thing is we've got friendly supporters for Kintone mentors, and I'm mentoring you today, and I'm friendly, so I'll be able to help you out. There is actually one more reason why you should be using Kintone, or you could use Kintone, is because we have a Kintone prize, which is always very nice to have. So running out of time here. Do we have any questions? I'm just going to give you like 20 seconds or so. Nothing's in the Q&A. If something pops up in the chat, I can answer it now. Otherwise, there is a channel inside Discord where you can always connect to me in a thread. If you feel you want to connect to me privately, you can connect to me privately inside Discord, I think, as well, through direct messages. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm just going to end off with some directions. So if you're using Node.js and Kintone, I have an article here. If you Google Kintone and Heroku, you'll find an article on dev.to. It's a tutorial based on deploying Node.js onto Heroku, where Node.js calls REST APIs from Kintone, and it gives back the response, and I simply create a web page out of that. It's a really, really simple web page, but you can use it as the foundation for your projects. Something unrelated to Kintone, if all this talk was nice, but Kintone isn't really something that you want right now, this is a really, really nice list of public REST APIs. I'm just going to copy and paste that as well inside. Let me get that link. There we go. So what this is, it's a, oh, thank you. That GitHub link is basically a list to some public APIs that you can find. And there's some serious ones like health and government, but there are some other ones like game and comics and food and drinks and animals and anime, and a list of REST APIs where there's an endpoint you can call and you can get some data back and you can place it in your hacks. So please put this API list to great use as well. And thank you and good luck. You can always find me on Discord. I am working in Japan time, so I'm setting my office hours at these times. I'll post them somewhere else as well, but you can take a screenshot of this as well. So I'll be online for the next 3 hours or so, I think, 3.5 hours. So I think most of the questions I get is how do I get a developer license? So you can always connect me on how to do that. You can ask me any questions you want based on Kintone. And I'm just saying these office hours, these are the times where I can respond really quickly. You can always message me out of these office hours on Discord, and I'll get back to you whenever I realize them, basically. Okay, and that will be the end of this workshop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, William. It was really interesting to see how you can quickly build databases on the browser with Kintone. And I'm sure a lot of hackers would appreciate that. So yeah, thank you for joining in, and thank you all for joining in the workshop. And we'll soon be posting this on YouTube, so you all can check it out later on as well. Take care, everyone, and happy hacking.